Mario Maker 2 was originally a game where it was very easy to upload mathematically impossible levels, since for some reason there was no way to download the levels like in Mario Maker 1 and see the entire design of the level. Instead, Nintendo decided to make us unable to inspect the level, and therefore people like Panga and Steve Gaming tried to make levels that took an unbelievable time to theoretically beat.
If you beat this level, you cheated. Short and sweet.
It is completely impossible in a cryptographical sense that someone guesses this number by accident.
However, that was until the SMM2 level viewer came around, because the SMM2 level viewer actually made it possible to beat these mathematically impossible levels. But I might have an idea that could potentially make a level mathematically impossible to beat, even with the level viewer in hand, and still make it possible for only me to beat it in one try. And with that, I welcome you to Project Ultimate Unbeatable Undertaking, also known as the UUU. Okay, so here's the idea. You see, the level viewer allows anyone with access to a browser to inspect the level to every detail. But there is one detail that the level viewer does not show directly to the person inspecting, and that is the detail that we are going to use to exploit in our level. Say you were to make a level where it consists of 2 question blocks. If you put an enemy in one block and put the exact same enemy in the other, the level viewer will of course know that you put the exact same enemy in both of them. But if you instead make one of the enemies big or wear wings and the other one not and put them in the blocks, the level viewer for some reason can't know what modifications those enemies have. They'll just assume that the modified enemy is just a regular one. Let me demonstrate it to you by showing you this level. In this level there are these said 2 blocks, one with an unmodified Goomba and one with a modified Goomba. After uploading this level and inputting the ID into the level viewer, you can see that both of them look like they actually contain the same unmodified enemy, even though they literally don't. So using this method we can make a contraption like this one right here with a note block. If this note block contains a small spike ball, you will have to hit this note block from underneath to be able to open up the path above. If this note block contains a big spike ball, on the other hand, you will have to hit this note block from above to be able to open up the path below. The path won't open up if you decide to hit it from the opposite side, meaning that you have to hit this note block from either above or underneath depending on what it contains. But since we don't know what type of spike ball is in the block, even with the use of the level viewer as we saw earlier, it kind of becomes a coin flip. It's a 50-50 chance of guessing the correct one. So I built this level that contains 125 of these coin flip machines, as I will call them from now on. While this is theoretically a completely randomized level where there's no way to know the path without having a cheat sheet, there is still one problem with this level. When playing this level and guessing one of the coin flip machines wrong, you will know exactly which one not to hit next time you play. Therefore, no matter how far you've progressed in the level, you'll always know how you have to hit the note blocks behind you on your next life, since you've already guessed them correctly on this life. So while this might be a very dumb and heavily luck-based level, it's not even close to being mathematically unbeatable. You literally would have to spend on average around 62 tries to beat this level. That's like nothing. So how do we make it actually mathematically impossible? Well, if you watched Panga's video, you'll see that the most optimal way to make a mathematically impossible level is to make a passcode. Because with a passcode, there is no way to know exactly what is wrong with it once you fail. Think of it as like a string of 1s and 0s, and you have to magically guess every single one of them right. Doesn't matter if you miss only the last input or every single input, you're still going to get it wrong. Only the exact code can beat it. After taking way too long to come up with how I would make this contraption, I settled on this. Here you'll see that we have a note block that can be either hit from above or below. You are required to hit this note block no matter what in order to break this brick block and come through. If you hit it from above, the spike ball will hit the first note block and spawn a monster that hits this note block. If you hit it from below, the spike ball will hit the second note block and spawn a monster that hits this note block instead. These last note blocks will either spawn a regular muncher or a big muncher. Then after that, this blue platform with a Goomba on it will go through this muncher barrier. If the muncher barrier contains a small muncher, it will pass. But if there's a big muncher, the Goomba will crash into it and fall off the platform, making this another version of the coin flip machine since you don't know which note block contains the big one. But what this one does that the previous one didn't is that you can create a chain of these coin flip machines, and only after you've set up the muncher barriers is when you're allowed to activate the blue platform. And if we make us unable to see these muncher barriers, voila! We now have no idea which coin flip machine we inputted wrong if we don't get the Goomba to the other side. Which takes this from being a 50-50 guessing game to a passcode that most likely can't be guessed in just 62 tries like the other one. I should also clarify that the reason we have specifically blue platforms on tracks here, including for the muncher barriers instead of just ground tiles, is because blue platforms on tracks make things global ground. Global ground is basically a term for objects that are globally loaded, meaning you can have these objects way off screen and still have them right at the position that they were without them despawning. Otherwise, the munchers behind us would just despawn once they were off screen, which would remove our muncher barrier. But now comes the question of how many of these updated coin flip machines can actually be made, because as you may know, Mario Maker has an entity limit of 100 for enemies and 100 for power-ups. Well, as it turns out, the problem is not really the entity limit. It's actually more so the lack of space in a level, because these coin flip machines are much larger than the other ones. So after a long time of working on this level, I managed to make 61 of these coin flip machines, with this second layer that has a muncher that is there to kill the Goomba once the Goomba has made it to the other side. So finally, here is how this level works. You start by inputting 30 of these coin flip machines. Then you hit this on-off block, run all the way back, then you're allowed to activate this blue platform, and after doing that, run all the way to the next set. Here you do a similar thing of inputting 31 coin flip machines, hitting the on-off, run back, activate the platform, and if you inputted every single one correctly, the muncher should land on top of the Goomba, killing it, which gives you a key to open this door and finish the level. Truly a fantastically dumb level. But there is still one question that remains. How unbeatable is this level really? To answer that question, we need to do some math. Since we have 61 of these coin flip machines that can have 2 possible outputs, that means we would have to take 2 to the power of 61 to get the total amount of possible combinations there would be, which is equal to 2 quintillion, 305 quadrillion, 843 trillion, 9 billion, 213 million, 693,952. Yeah, that is definitely larger than 62. Okay, but if we imagine that each attempt of inputting a combination takes, say, 700 seconds, since that is how long it took me to clear check this level, it would take roughly 1.6 sextillion seconds, or if we were to put that in years, 51 trillion. For comparison, in just 7.6 billion years, Earth won't even exist anymore, since the sun will have eaten up the Earth at that point due to it growing into a red giant. But if we took all the humans living on Earth, all 8 billion of us, and for the rest of our lives sat down and inputted each unique combination one by one, would that be enough? Well, no, it would still take around 6,200 years per person, which I don't think people will be able to live that long. That's also imagining that we have 8 billion Nintendo Switches and 8 billion copies of Mario Maker 2, which just won't happen. So in conclusion, this level is most likely never gonna be beaten, unless the level viewer fixes this problem of not knowing when it's in a block, which, you know, it's probably gonna do. But here is the level ID if you want to beat this level, although you probably won't, but you could try to. If you want to see more insane levels being made while Mario Maker 2 is practically dead, or just more of me in your subscription feed, make sure to subscribe. You're also free to suggest any video ideas in the comments down below. And as always, have a great rest of your day, and see you soon.